So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining. And again, it's the first of our first class of this um, sort of BB. You know, we have been going through the lamrim, some of the basic program subjects and texts, and we are on lamrim, middle lamrim. And again, I'm very grateful and thank you for Bob for helping to lead the discussions. And those who have time and who are interested, I will encourage to have the discussion, to participate in the discussions, because we wouldn't have time to read each of those all word by word, which we did at the very beginning, but later I kind of found it's taking too much time. And so anyway, so I mostly go from some of the main points. And so I might not be kind of reading everything. And so then I think during the discussion, some of the things that might interest you that we have, that I have not covered, that you can discuss. And discussion is one of the greatest way to really learn, because 5 people, 10 people, 10 different ideas, and coming up with different ideas and sharing each other's, clarify something which you are not clear about something, so in the monastery, we spend most of the time the discussion, the debate with the monks. With our teachers, we might have 45 minutes, 1 hour class a day, but with our classmates we spend 4 hours, 5 hours each day, and it's all kind of discussions in the form of debate. And so I think it's really very helpful to deepening our understanding. And so then I know it's not just what you hear from the teachers, but actually what other has to say, and then using your own mind to see and find out what makes more sense, and so on. So I think is a wonderful way of doing that. And also when you have discussion, it kind of stay in your mind much more longer. When you are just listening, sometimes we hear, we understand, then we forget very easily. But when you are discussing, you have to think, contemplate. And so when you are contemplating, I think once it's registered in your mind, it helps to keep in your memory for a long time instead of forgetting very easily. Okay, so therefore I'm very grateful for Bob to help with that. I think he has been helping with all other basics and also with my class as well. So again, I would like to thank really from the depth of my heart for that. So as usual, I start with the motivations for being here. And then once we have the motivation, then we do the prayer before the teachings. And then we start the class, the discussions, the talk, okay? So first try to quiet your mind for a few moments. By observing the breath. Then we can think and reflect, how fortunate we are to have this precious human life, to have met the Dharma, and to have met some of the incredible qualified teachers such as His Holiness and so forth. And therefore, we have to make as much as uses or meaning of this life, make it more meaningful without wasting it. And the best way to make our life meaningful is study, contemplate, meditate on the Dharma, so that we can, through the practice of the Dharma, so we can overcome all the obscurations and cultivate all the inner positive qualities or realizations. So we can be more and greater benefit and help to others and oneself. And for that very reasons that I'm going to engage in listening, discussions, reflection, contemplations. To become more enlightened. And may our coming together here become cause and condition to actualize our own highest potential, the fully awakened state, as soon as possible. Okay, so then we can do the prayer before the teachings. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fourth destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge, and it would conduct Sugata, Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya can climb, I prostrate, make offering, and go for refuge. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout, homage to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all rams, Adams, in all aspect, with the supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous action, perform only perfect virtuous action, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberrations, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, and clouds see condition things as such. Through this merit, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from the samsaric ocean, perturbed by the wave of aging, sickness, and death. So we can do the Heart Sutra today. If you have Heart Sutra.
Technical difficulties. Sorry, everyone.
It's okay. How to practice patience. I proceeded to the Arya people Zen. Thus did I hear one time that Bhagavan was dwelling on a massive vulture mountain in Rasgriha together with the great community of monks and the great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was observed in the concentration of the categories of phenomena called profound perceptions. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregate also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wish to practice the activities of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wish to practice the activities of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as an empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, the all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not division, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no order, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There's no I element and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There's no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there's no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There's no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on dual in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond era, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to the unsurprisable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurprised mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that truly pacifies all sufferings, should be known as truth since it is not false. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is declared. Dayata om gade gade, paragate, parasam gade, bodhe soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice, the Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding the entirety, along with the world of gods, human, asura, and Gandharvas were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. So then we can refresh in Bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient. Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam La Chanchu Bhagavan Nekya Dagi Shoyen Yepe Sonam Ge Dola Kenje Sangye Dubarash Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam La Chanchu Bhagavan Nekya Dagi Geshe Gibe Sonamki, Dola Penje Sanke Doba. So, in terms of the lamrim, in the lamrim, we have kind of so far finished in terms of just to go briefly about some of the subjects outline that we have finished, how to find and rely on perfect spiritual master, and then having rely correctly on spiritual masters, how to engage in the path, and then in terms of engaging with the path, encouraging oneself to engage in the path by understanding the preciousness of this human life. And even though it is so precious that it does not last forever, because it's impermanent and life comes to an end. And so therefore we have to enter the path now while we have still this great conditions and opportunity. And so then, if our life come to end, then, we will have to take a next rebirth. And then, we do not know at the moment as ordinary beings, unlike like a enlightened, more highly involved or highly realized beings, we don't have total control of our karma, and therefore we don't have the choice to make what kind of rebirth we want to have. So therefore the karma, whatever karma, if I have stronger negative karma, then we were born in one of three unfortunate state. And if we have more positive karma, then we will be born in one of more fortunate state. And if we are born in one of those three unfortunate state, then the suffering will be much more intense, more longer duration, and the opportunity to practice Dharma will be very limited, if not impossible. And therefore, we have to make sure that we don't take a rebirth in one of those unfortunate states. And if we are born in that, the only way that we can protect ourselves from that is by going to the refuge, to Buddha Dhamma Sangha. And having gone to the refuge, then, not just enough just going to the refuge, but applying living our life according to the commitment of having gone to the refuge. And that is on a minimum level, trying to refrain from 10 non-virtuous actions and engage in 10 virtuous actions. And if we can live our life by reframing 10 non-virtuous action, engage in 10 virtuous action, then surely that we will have a better and higher rebirth in the futures, and opportunity to continue to practice on the path, the Dharma, and on the path. So, after that, completing the practice of middle scope, small scope, and then even, by practicing in the virtues and referring non-virtues, and even with higher rebirth, such as human life, still as long as we are in samsara, still we are not free from all the sufferings. Still we are not free from all the delusions and the karma. And so therefore, then, no matter where we take rebirth within the samsara, as long as our rebirth is within the samsara, there is no real lasting peace and happiness and stability. And with that understanding, by understanding the faults, shortcoming of the samsara and the suffering of samsara, then we try to generate strong inspirations to free from the samsara and to achieve lasting happiness of liberation, nirvana. And in order to achieve that lasting happiness of liberation, nirvana, then we need to engage in the practice of three higher training. That is moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom. And so even through practice of three higher training, even we are able to achieve liberation, nirvana individually. But if rest of the sentient beings are suffering and pain, how can we be so satisfied with just individuals' liberation and true happiness? It is incorrect and improper, not only from the Dharma point of view, even from an ordinary point of view. How can you neglect the countless sentient beings who are suffering and just be satisfied with just individual liberations? And with that, by understanding the pain and suffering of other sentient beings, and by cultivating a strong compassion, the wish to free them from suffering and cause of suffering and lead them to the fully enlightenment, then we try to generate a bodhicitta mind. And on the basis of that, cultivating bodhicitta mind, then we engage in the practice of the bodhisattva, such as 6 perfections. And then the perfection of moral discipline, the perfection of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. And so we are in part of that wisdom, and so up to there, then middle scope and great scope, I've kind of, we have completed that. And then Lama Tsongkhapa explained more detail on the last 2 perfection, the perfection of concentration and wisdom, much more profound and details. So within that, we finished the how to develop the concentration or shamatha, and then next, how to develop the special insight, the wisdom, penetrating wisdom, realizing the emptiness on the basis of shamatha. So that's special insight. And within that, I think we have finished some of the earlier, the right condition to cultivate the external, internal condition to cultivate the special insight, and then the reason why we need to cultivate the special insight, and the benefit of cultivating special insight, and so forth. We have finished all of that. Basically, until we have special insight, the penetrative wisdom that realizes the ultimate truth or emptiness, there is no end to the delusions. And as long as there is no end to the delusions, there's no end to the samsara. And without that special insight, we cannot overcome, not only we cannot overcome the delusional obscuration, but also subtle obscuration. And for that purpose, we need to cultivate the special insight. And so we are that. And within that, those who have the text, we are on page number 235. And very beginning of that, where it says, how to generate the view realizing selflessness. So we are on that. So that's where we kind of left last time. And as you can see, that had 3 kind of, that main outline has 3 sub outlines, so I don't have to read, you can read each of them, and then within the the stages of generating 2 view of selflessness. So then here it says, the stage of themselves. Basically, it says, in terms of the ignorance, in terms of the fundamental ignorance, grasping the fundamental ignorance and grasping, inherently existing of person and phenomena. In terms of that ignorance, in terms of sequences, first, which ignorance arises is saying it is the ignorance that apprehend the inherently existing person, phenomena arises. And then the ignorance that apprehend or grasp the persons to be inherently existing arises in terms of the sequences, in terms of the ignorance. But when we practice selflessness or emptiness, and when we generate the realization, it is the opposite. First, you have the realization of the selflessness or emptiness of persons, and then after that, then you have realization of the selflessness or the emptiness of the phenomena. So here this is interesting, you know. What do you think in terms of true ignorance? Within the ignorance that's grasping the self, the persons, that comes first, and then phenomena next? Isn't that the case? Here, Lama Tsongkhapa here seems to indicate it is the grasping, ignorance, grasping the phenomena as inherently existing, that comes first, and then the persons secondly. Yeah. But generally, isn't that the ignorance that's grasping, self-grasping of the person comes first? Yes, Bob, please.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the way I sort of understand what he's saying here. If everything is selfless, then person is a type of everything. So logically, it makes sense that once you know that everything is selfless, then automatically selflessness of persons is also included within that. So it's sort of, you know, so I sort of get his logic.
No, in terms of the ignorance.
Well, yeah, and
why?
Well, yeah.
Ignorance, in terms of ignorance, first there is the ignorance that is grasping an eternally existing phenomena, and then the grasping of the self come first, a second.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think it depends on whether you're talking psychologically or you're talking logically, you know, because I think logically we care about ourselves the most. And so that ignorance sort of dominates. But from a logical point of view, sort of, you know, knowing that everything is selfless, then the person sort of gets, so there is that sort of thing, I think, whether you're looking psychologically or logically.
Okay. Okay, I'm not going to, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to give my point of view at the moment. I want it to be discussed, you know, and then maybe, you know, also just for a reference and in terms of scripture reference, like in Chandrakirti's Middle Way, Subliminal Middle Way, where he pay homage to the compassion at the very beginning. In that one verse, he says, first there is the ignorance and grasping the self. Then after that, then my this and that, and all grasping of all phenomena. And because of that, then due to that ignorance, first grasping of the self, of the persons, and then like my body, my mind, and all others phenomena. And then due to that delusion arises, and due to the delusion, then karma is created, and endlessly sentient beings suffer in the ocean of the samsara endlessly. And therefore he homage to the compassion that generated compassion to release all that sentient beings from all this endless ocean of samsara. So according to that, then it seems to indicate, first there is the ignorance that is grasping the self of the person or self of the person, and then the phenomena. So again, it seems a little bit kind of what Lama Tsongkhapa is saying here seems to be little bit kind of what you call contradiction in a way, literally, but what it is. So that is something I want you to kind of think, discuss, I think when you discuss more, I think, again, it will bring more. You have to think more, it will bring more. I think it will be. Also, when we were taught at the monastery, you know, our teachers, you know, they will raise the questions, but they never give answers, you know. Sometimes they will give the answer maybe next class or maybe after 2 class, and sometimes they never give, because that encourages us to discuss more and think more, read more. And so I think that helps. When your answer is given immediately, then we don't think about it, and we easily forget it, and we have no time to really contemplate so much. So that is that is what I'm kind of also now, since we have discussion class, so I think it would be great to have that opportunity to discuss as well. Yes, John?
Sorry, Geshe, I was just trying to understand what is the 2 points of view. Is it that I thinking like in terms of my own case, in terms of it's easier, I think, to see the selflessness of myself than phenomena. I don't see I couldn't quite get what Lama Tsongkhapa was saying, what you're saying. He was saying that it's round the other way.
Yeah, here Lama Tsongkhapa was saying in terms of the ignorance, you know, there are 2 ignorance. Ignorance that inherently existing, grasping inherently existence of the person, and inherently existence of phenomena. Which one comes in terms of ignorance? That is where Lama Tsongkhapa says the ignorance that is grasping the phenomena to exist inherently come first. And after that, then the ignorance that is grasping the person to inherently exist come next. So that is what Lama Tsongkhapa was saying. Then I'm saying, you know,
it's the other way around.
Chandrakirti seems to mention the other way around. So how? So that is one thing that I'm trying to kind of say. And and then in terms of when it comes to meditating or realizing the emptiness, then here Lama Tsongkhapa says first we need to have a realization of emptiness of person, and then emptiness of phenomena. So again, that is so then again maybe that I think so that one, why that, I think it might come later. Does it's, I think maybe I thought there was, I think maybe it will come later, but generally, again, there is, you know, in terms of why we need to have why someone has realization of emptiness of person first, and not a phenomena first. So then I think it will come later, but it says because even though in terms of, you know, understanding the non-inherent existence, there's no subtlety between the non-inherent existence of person and non-inherent existence of the phenomena. So in terms of apprehending object, there's no subtlety, no difference. But in terms of the objects of that emptiness understood, the observed object, then there is a difference. One is the person, one is the phenomena. And so when you do the person, it's more easy to understand because of your first, in order to understand the emptiness of the person, you have to understand the person, what person means. And when you have understanding of the what person means, then that understanding help you to have understanding of non-inherent existing of that more easily. And so again, that will be another topic, how that is, you know, why is the emptiness of person more easy to have emptiness of person to easy to realize than the person emptiness of the phenomena. You know, that is also another to kind of to reflect, contemplate. And so in terms of the Lama Tsongkhapa, when Lama Tsongkhapa here says, when he, in terms of presenting the emptiness, first, the emptiness of person and then phenomena, in terms of the scriptural authority, then he says in Precious Garland by Nagarjuna, it says, it presents first the emptiness of person. And after that, then it presents the emptiness of the phenomena, such as the aggregates. So here it says, person isn't the earth, nor water, and fire, wind, nor space, and consciousness. So those are the 6 elements, So each of those 6 elements are not the persons. So our body, or we as a person, is made out of those 6 elements. Okay, our body is made out of 4 or 5 elements. Water elements such as our bones, the kind of those, and not water, earth elements. Then water element, the liquids, fluids, those are water elements. The fire elements, our heat that keep us, sustain our body and keep alive. And the air or wind elements and that allow to breathe in and out and also pass. And then space elements that allow those wind to move, If there's no space, then there's no way to move. And if cannot move and circulate, then of course, again, we will not be able to. And then consciousness is one of, because when we talk about person, we are made of those, our body, physical body, and our consciousness, our mind, but when you analyze this, and same kind of, this analysis is done, same by Shantideva that you see in his chapter 9, more detailed than this one, going with each of different organs and different part of the body, the person is not this heart, the person is not the liver, the person is not this and that, all of that. I think there's like 3 or 4 verses on that, Shantideva. So again, this is it can be a nice, sometimes it's a helpful meditations, when we have strong sense of inherently existing appearance of inherently existing self, or me, or I, then trying to, most time we don't even investigate, analyze, there is appearance of that inherently existing self, and we just kind of follow that without investigating, analyzing whether that is how really person is, and we just follow it. But here, Nagarjuna is saying, contemplate, see, if there is if there is truly inherently existing self or I, as it appear to us, then when you investigate within the object, it should be found. If it is truly existence, as it appear to us, if it exists from objective side, from its own side, it should be, when it is analyzed within that object, within that basis, it should be found within there. And so then, but when you analyze, you cannot find within those, the basis, within the object, the part that make that persons, And so, because when we talk a person, whether it's a physical body, we should be found within the aggregate, either within the physical aggregate or within the consciousness aggregate. And if we analyze within the physical aggregate, then physical aggregate is made out of those 5 elements. And if you try to find within each of those elements, you cannot find so-called self, I, or me within each of those 5 elements. And then if we cannot find within this physical element, the other possibility is that to be able to find within the mental or consciousness element. And if we try to find within the conscious element, again, whether it's whether we can find within the sense consciousness or mental consciousness, whether we can find within the primary consciousness or mental factors, and all of that, when we do that kind of exercises, or whether we can find within the, gross mind, subtle mind, more subtle mind, and even within the more subtle mind, or each of those mind, they are made of many parts that make that consciousness. If we can see, if we can find within each of those part of each consciousness like that, then, we cannot really find. And when we cannot really find, when we do that, then it comes to kind of understanding conclusions, even though it appeared to me, I or self or the person as existing from its own objective side, from its own side of the object, but there is, if we analyze within the object itself, we cannot find. And therefore we come to certain understanding, there is no self that exists from its own side, from own side, from objective side. There's no self that comes from objective side, from the object side, inherent existence. And therefore that appearance is totally mistaken, false. Therefore, that is totally false, ignorance, mistaken mind. Once we understand that that is ignorance, mistaken, and false, then we don't follow that mind. At the moment, we believe that appearance as a true, and the mind which is apprehending that as true, and on the basis of that, believing that as a true, then our minds kind of fabricate many things. On the basis of many fabrications, then delusion arises. On the basis of delusions, then we suffer, and also we also make others suffer. And so that is kind of the meditation here. That with this is with that verse, it is a kind of profound when you take time to reflect, contemplate, to really go deeply with each of those elements, analyzing with each of those, then it becomes much more profound and helpful, meaningful, So then it is so that is meditation. So that is saying each of those elements are not the persons that we cannot find within each of them. Then the next, if there are none of these, so then if there are none of these, there here meanings, not only each of those 6 elements are not the persons, the collection of those elements is also not person. Okay, not only individually each of them, but the collective of that is also not the persons. If they are not the persons, if there are none of those, what could the person be other than that? So then, does that mean there is no person at all? Because when you try to analyze within the individual and collective, you cannot find, and if each of them are not person, then does that mean there is no person, there's no self, there's no I? So what could person be other than, since they are being composed of 6 elements, they are not real exactly like that. So here is saying, if there is no such person, then is there no person? So yes, there is a person, there is a self, there is an I. So what is that? It is the self or I that is imputed on the collection of those 6 elements. It's neither the 6 individual of them collection, but it is a person, is something that is imputed on the basis of those collections, the 6 elements coming together. That is the persons. So therefore, the way the person exists or the self exists and the way it appears to us is very different. So therefore, it is not real. That appearance is not real, but false. So they are not real exactly like that. They are not real as it appears to us, to our mind, and the way our mind apprehend or grasps at them. So that is. Then next one, each element. So here, those each elements are the phenomena. Okay, so they are the phenomena. So each element, as I said, the normal 4 element and space element and consciousness elements. So those are the them. Not only the persons is not truly existent, but the very basis to which the person imputed, that even that 6 element themselves are also not truly existent, inherent existence, is composed because they are also imputed on the basis of many parts of coming together of those elements that makes that elements. And therefore, there is no real either. So therefore, also not only the persons, but even the element, which are the basis of the person, even they are empty of inherent existence, empty of truly existence. They are just merely imputed on the basis of collections of each part of those elements. The water element is made of many parts. The earth element is made of many parts. So when all this element comes, then on the basis of that, then that is how it exists. So then here you can see first, Nagarjuna present the selflessness of the person and then selflessness of phenomena. Okay. So here, so here it explains all, first the person, and then second, the phenomena such as element are empty of inherently existent, truly existent, exist from its own side. Not only that, Chandrakirti, in his clear words, commentary on Nagarjuna's, in clear words, also that is how it is presented. First presented the phenomena of person, emptiness of person, and then phenomena. Not only the Chandrakirti, also Buddha Palita, one of the main disciples of Nagarjuna, he also, the way he presented, also same. First the emptiness of person and then emptiness of phenomena. And also explain that entering suchness, one first enter by the selfless person and then the phenomena. Also Shantideva also present that way. So here Lama Tsongkhapa was saying, he didn't make up, all these great Indian masters. That is how also they presented. And that is presented according to the way we cultivate the wisdom relies on the emptiness, in which we realize the emptiness. So that presentation is that. So that is where Lama Tsongkhapa is saying that. Okay. So that is where I said before, why the sadness of person is presented first, and the phenomena second. Why we have realization of person first, emptiness of person first, and the emptiness of phenomena second. So here the reason is given here, the reason for that. So it is easier to understand the emptiness of persons than emptiness of phenomena. And therefore, since it is easier to understand a certain the selflessness or the emptiness of person, therefore it is presented first. And that because it is easier, so that also you have the realization of that first. And so the point comes, how is that easier? That was the question I'm bringing. How is it easier to have realized the emptiness of person than realize the emptiness of phenomena? How is it easier? That is something, again, I think I'd like you to kind of discuss, contemplate, and in the discussions, you know. And of course, here, example is given, even within the phenomena, you know, even within the phenomena, you know, realizing the emptiness of certain phenomena is easier than certain other phenomena. So here the example giving is understanding the emptiness of the reflections of yourself in the mirror is easier than the understanding on emptiness of such as the physical body itself or the computer, you know. So even the computer or the body is phenomena, and the reflections of the moon in the lake or the reflection of our face in the mirror, they all are phenomena. But it is easier to have a understanding the emptiness of the reflections of moon in lake than the emptiness of the computer, or the emptiness of your face in the mirror. So because of that, so when you use in all these great scriptures by all these Indian masters, when they use the reason and logic, then they give example. They give example like illusions, like the moon. Let's say it will come maybe later. The self is empty of truly existence because it's neither inherently existing one or self, like illusions, like a moon in a reflection of moon in the lake, or reflection of your face in the mirror, like that. They give example because example is more easy to understand. Once you understand the example, then you understand the meaning. That is what example is giving mostly, because when we don't understand the meaning totally, by giving the example, then that is why. Then it help to. So example more easy to understand. So that is Lama Tsongkhapa give that is similarly like that. Just as within the phenomena, some phenomena, understanding some phenomena emptiness easier than some other phenomena. Here give. And similarly, in same way, the understanding of persons is easier than the phenomena, but exactly why that is not given here. So I think that is something I want you to discuss. Yes, Shanga?
Geshe, I have a question. So I understand why using the selflessness of person is easier to start with, right? Because it's easier to ascertain the object of refutation and all that stuff in meditation, right? But
how is that? How is it easier that? How is it easier to refute how is it easier to refute the inherently existing person than inherently existing of phenomena, let's say a physical body or the mind?
well, Matthew has an answer, I think.
Okay. Yes, please.
It's definitely not an answer. How about that? I guess my experience is because it's internal, it's inside, and I think that's, for me, that's the experience that I find. I find there are times where it's easier for that to be seen directly. I think primarily because it's internal, and can investigate it that way, as compared to something than to look outside of the mind to see that solid, tangible phenomena, entity is more difficult to then see the emptiness, those things that just constantly appear as solid day to day, all the time, since being a child.
Definitely, I think there is some points that Matthew mentioned. I think also Bob was mentioning before, and when he was said, I think you have same kind of, but still I have some question on that.
Okay, well, Geshe, my question was, let's assume for the moment,
Yes.
let's assume for the moment that we have figured out that selflessness of person is easier to
Yes.
easier to realize than selflessness of phenomena.
Mhm.
So if you have, let's say, if one has realized the selflessness of phenomena, does that mean, are there extra steps that need to happen to realize the selflessness of phenomena? Or once you realize selflessness of person, you know, if you have a direct realization, let's say, of selflessness of person, do you also then automatically have a direct realization of selflessness of phenomena?
Well, that will come. I think that will come. But it is mentioned, once you have realization of one emptiness, whether it's person or the phenomena, whatever, once, then it's very easy to understand the emptiness of all others. You know, it is just like, you know, you realize this computer is whatever, you know, how it is made, how it functions. Once you have realized that, then you know all other computer with the same, let's say Mac computer, you know, once you understand one computer of Mac, how it functions, and especially they are same year, you know, maybe if there come new ones, maybe it might have different functionings, but same year, all the computer that is made with same year, once you have understanding of functioning of that, then you have understanding of all other functioning, you know, oh, that is also same Mac, or that is also same Mac. So just by understanding that they are same Mac, then you have understanding of how it, same way, once you have understanding of emptiness, then it's same, it is not immediately the one mind realize all emptiness immediately, but by having one understanding, then it will lead to understanding of other emptiness very quickly without having to use so much reasoning and logic like that you have to do at the very beginning, you know, just by saying, oh, that is also like this, that is also like that, once with understanding each of the objects, and through that you're relying. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Geshe.
Yes, John.
I don't know whether I should save this for the discussion, maybe, but just occurred to me, Geshe, that the selflessness of persons, because we have such experience, we are the person, it's easy to concoct how you see the reverse of that. Like, I see myself, as Matthew was sort of alluding to before too, solid, unchanging, not dependent on causes or conditions. There's that concept I identify with, and it's very easy then to bring that perception down, because I'm obviously not unchanging. I do need causes and conditions. That's how so it's, you know, I've got experience with that. It's much easier to do that. Like, I realize, you know, so you put up a proposition that I see myself as solid, unitary, unchanging, and independent of other causes and conditions. That's this false view. And then I think to myself, well, that's not true. Mm-hmm. So it's in that regard, because I've got experience with that, it's easier. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, just to, I think, bring off kind of something to think about, as Matthew brought up, you brought up, that self is very personal, and so it is more easier because that is how we relate in that way. But what about consciousness? Our consciousness is very, very internal, just like the self, very internal. And also with the consciousness, sometimes we tend to feel that is permanent, unchanging, and like that. So it seems to have same. So, but isn't the consciousness phenomena, and therefore understanding of emptiness of the consciousness is the understanding emptiness of phenomena. And so therefore, you know, because of course, if I talk about the computer, external phenomena, then it's not so personal that we don't deal with every day. that. But like just as we deal with self every day, we are dealing with our consciousness, our emotions, our mind all the time. And we also have a sense of grasping of that, unchanging, truly existing, infinitely existing of that. So how is that the person's emptiness of persons more easier than the emptiness of that our consciousness, let's say? Yeah. Yes, Matthew.
I think for me, I think it's coming in two ways. One is to consider that there's just knowing rather than there's a knower. That idea seems to be very helpful for me to when the investigation is happening, just simply say that there's knowing rather than I'm knowing. That has been very powerful. And then also to be able to catch the concept, as it comes up in the mind, to be able to see the concept actually be created, and then to be able to immediately investigate that and to just see that this is just an idea. Oh, this is just an idea. Oh, this is just an idea. And to see how the mind then takes that idea and then spins it, into a complexity, I guess. And I can't do that for my computer.
Okay. Anyway, I think I don't want to discuss too much here now. I just put out some of the questions, some of the thoughts, and I think that will be part of your discussions. I think maybe next week, before we class. Do you meet before that, Bob? When do you do the discussions?
We do the discussions immediately after this class.
Okay. Thank you. So, those, I think it would be great if you can stay half hour for the discussions. And, but even you can't stay for whatever reasons, but there's something you need to reflect, contemplate some of the questions that have been put down there. So if you started to contemplate a little bit, I think next time when we share it, I think it will be easy to kind of digest, and it will remain in our mind for a long time. Like that's my experience, and I think maybe that is probably your experience. Like some of the things that I find difficulty, and I've been thinking a lot, and then suddenly when I'm reading a book, then I find the answer there. I have read that so many times, but I never found that answer because I wasn't questioning that. So it didn't seem like it is an answer. Even it's there, but I didn't notice. Or sometimes in the teachings, I hear teachings, and then His Holiness or any other teacher, they make a point on that. I know that is essential point. But if you have no if you don't have that doubt, or you have not thought about it, even they are making some essential point, you wouldn't recognize it is essential point. You would just think it's just enough advice, instruction, whatever, So that helps to us to understand when we started to caution, and when we started to think, reflect, contemplate, and then suddenly someone, whether it's a teacher, whether your friend, through discussion, something says, then that is it. Then you get the point. You can have that. Or when you are reading scriptures, text, So I think, and then once you get that, after having thought a lot, then it remains in your mind for a long time. You don't forget very easily. That has been my personal experiences, and so yeah. So then prove through the scriptures. So I think this is the questions. This is the answer that to the question that Shanga just asked. Okay. So in the King of Concentration Sutra, it's just as you know the perception of self applied to everything mentally and entityness of all phenomena is completely pure like space. All of them are known through one, and all of them are seen through one. So here he's saying, once also in terms of sutra, also here, first it says, first you need to have the realization of selfness of the persons. Once you have understanding of selfness of person, then you apply that to all other phenomena. And by having applied to all other phenomena, then you will be able to understand the emptiness of all other phenomena. First, you have understanding of emptiness of persons. And once you have that realization, understand, then you apply that to all other phenomena, your body, your mind, and your eyes, your nose, and then all other phenomena, internal to external. And through that, then so by here he said, by understanding through knowing emptiness through one, you have the potential to understand the emptiness of all. By seeing the emptiness of one, the emptiness of persons, you have the potential to see the emptiness of all. So that's, again, so I think that this answered the questions Shankar asked, as well as it is also same in terms of presenting first the emptiness of persons and the phenomena also here in Sutra, also in terms of also that, you can apply that too, So then, yeah, Lama Tsongkhapa, I think, give, here it says, yeah, once you have understanding of emptiness of person by using different reasoning, different logic, by using different investigation, analysis, whatever different analysis, whatever different examinations, logic, reasoning you use, once you have understanding of emptiness of person, on basis of that, then use that same logic, that same reasoning, same examination, same way of examining, analyzing to all other phenomena. First, in the internal phenomena, internal phenomena such as our body, our mind, our consciousness. And then after that, then you apply that same to external objects, the book, the cushions, the computer, and all the other phenomena. So you expand. So even though when you are realization of emptiness person, even that mind that is realizing emptiness person, even though it is not realizing emptiness of all the persons, all the phenomena as emptiness, but it is almost equivalent, it is almost same, like realizing emptiness of all, because you just have to apply that reason, logic to whatever phenomena, and you have like that. You don't have to go through all the process so detailed and so process of all the the extensive and long process that you will go through to have that realizations. Once you have done with one, then with others, it becomes so easy. You just apply, and is so that is so I think again that gives us a lot of hope, because we think there is endless phenomena. So if you need to have realization of all emptiness, and because its objects are endless, so that means your practice meditation will be endless to have realization of all the emptiness, all the phenomena. But here is saying it's not like that. You don't have to put so much effort to each of them like that. We put effort towards one to have a realization of emptiness of one object, such as persons. Once you have through that kind of effort and practice, once you have that realization, then all others is like that, very easy. You just apply that reason, and then it's like that, Yeah. Once, for example, of course, I think it might not be so pervasive or accurate, but in general, you take one apple from the tree, you taste it, sweet, sour. Once you have tasted, you know others are like this. Others have not ripened. Or grape, you taste one grape and it's still sour, and oh, it's still sour, it hasn't still ripened fully. And so you don't have to try each of those grapes to taste that, to know that it has not ripened. Or you don't have to taste that each of those other apple or fruits. So similarly like that, once you have that one taste, you have taste of one taste of realization or emptiness of one phenomena, then you can know, it is the same. And so therefore, so it is always not being able to achieve one. That is always the key. Once you achieve one, then, rest, it becomes easy,
See, Geshe, I think we
Yes.
had a question from, was it Vasanta?
Yes, please. Yes, Vasanta.
Yeah, hi, Geshe.
Hi.
So how do you apply it to external phenomena if the external phenomena do not have 6th element, which is consciousness?
Well, then you don't use the consciousness. You apply the 5 with the 5
Or 5 elements?
5 elements.
Wow.
And same with the certain sentient beings, that does not have form. So then in that you cannot apply all 6 elements. For example, there is a concept of formless God realms. So in those formless God realms, there is only consciousness. They don't have form. So to them, you cannot use that same 6 elements because they don't have the 5 elements or maybe the 4 elements. So then you use mostly the reasoning through the consciousness, and its parts. So depending on that, then it changes slightly, because depending on whether it's there, but otherwise, more or less, the way it is done is same. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome. Any other questions?
I have a question,
Yes, please.
Geshe.
Yes.
Um,
Please.
So with the 2 types of ignorance, ignorance of self and the ignorance of phenomena, the suffering that arises from the ignorance of self and the suffering that arises from the ignorance of phenomena, are they equally suffering, or is the suffering from the ignorance of self more painful?
I think it is same, but it is in terms of sufferings produced by both ignorance. I don't think there is a difference, but it's the only matter here. The discussion is among those 2 ignorance, which one come first, and so that is and also there are also other discussions when we talk about the fundamental ignorance of the 12 link, among the 12 link, when we talk about the fundamental ignorance of that, then of course in most of the scriptures they taught the fundamental ignorance, grasping the self as truly inherently existing, truly existing, is the fundamental ignorance. But in some other scripture, it seems to say the phenomena, the grasping of phenomena as inherently existence, is the one that is the root of all that. So then again, there is, just like here, there is a little bit of discussions of that. So how can there be, there is discussion, can there be 2 different ignorance, which is the very root of all, the very root of the 12 link or not, or is it just one ignorance? So there is also that discussions as well. I don't know whether it comes in a middle lamrim, but I think it comes in the great lamrim. I think that discussions in great lamrim and some other scriptures as well. Yeah. So any other questions before we go? So then So then we go to the next points. So again, I know the actual generational stage of 2 points, 2 view, and there is again 2 different sub what you call outline, and within that the discipline substance of the person also there's 2 sub outline, and so then identificating the persons, what is persons, what is person. So here is in person doesn't necessarily mean a human beings. Okay, normally we tend to think when we say person, we tend to think human beings, but here person means much more broader. Here, a person can be in 6 classes of sentient beings. So human, god, demigod, animals, hungry ghosts, naras, so all of them are, in terms of 6 realms, they all are known as persons. Okay. Or we can kind of say, ordinary persons and Arya persons. Ordinary persons are those who have not realized emptiness directly, and Arya persons, Arya noble persons, are the one who have realized emptiness directly. So, so we can kind of divide into 2 kind of that in persons. And also there is, person who is accumulating virtues, the person who is accumulating non-virtues karma, and then there is a person who is experiencing the effect of such virtues and non-virtues karma. And then there is a person who is still kind of lost in the samsara or cyclic existence. And then there is a person who is trying to get out of samsara and cultivating the path, who have entered the path and seeking the liberations. And then there is the person who have actually achieved the liberations. And so when you say those are different persons. So that is kind of general kind of identifying some of the what it might be, what it means persons. But when you talk about what is really persons, then slightly different school have different, slightly different view on that. When you analyze what is the persons, in some of the Buddhist schools, they find the consciousness of that person to be the persons, and some of them the collections of the aggregates to be a person, some of them the continuity of the collections of the aggregate to be persons, some of them the continuity of the mental consciousness to be persons. But here in according to the Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti Prasangika point of view, from their point of view, when you analyze within the objects, you cannot find within the objects, as we discussed before. So neither you can find within the collection of aggregate, within the continuity of that, neither you can find within the consciousness, neither you can find within the continuity of the consciousness. So therefore, the persons is merely imputed on the basis of the 6 elements coming together. Those 6 elements coming together, collection of those 6 elements coming together, on the basis of that, then imputed as a person on that. So therefore, so that is the persons, according to this school, this system, Prasangika point of view. And so that is slightly different, In other schools, when you analyze this within the object, they find in some. They have to find. For them, if they cannot find, they cannot establish it exists. And that is also how we feel, isn't it? Sometimes we absolutely feel we might not have that kind of tenets, but our intuitive kind of feeling is always like, if the computer cannot be found there within the object, within that, how can there be a computer? Do you get it? That's how we feel. So therefore, the computer, when you analyze, it should be found there. That is how, and so other Buddhist school also feel that way. So therefore they find within, when they go more, go deeper and deeper and deeper, then, you know, some of them say, you know, well, not each individual elements are not, but the collection of those elements is the persons. And some of them is find, or even that collection is not, but then continuity of that collection is the persons. And some of them, even the collection is not, but the mental consciousness, they find within the mental consciousness, because they think that is the more stable one, passing from one life to another life, and therefore that is they find within the mental consciousness. So they say that is the person. When you go deeper and try to find within that, within the object, within the basis, within the aggregates, and of course in some others, you know, like minor holy school, then they come with another idea of this eight consciousness, the consciousness basis of all, and then they find within that they think that is the sixth consciousness is not stable, but this one is stable, that path. So each of them have come like that, but Prasangika refute all of them, you know. So and Prasangika is able to establish something that exists, that is, when you analyze, it cannot be found within the object, within the basis, but still on the basis of the parts or basis coming together collection, they merely imputed on the basis of that. So everything exists by merely imputed that through that idea that they could establish that it exists, even though you cannot find when you analyze that way within the objects. So same, that is same with all the objects. So here in the persons, so they will say, you know, the person is that on the basis of the five aggregates coming together in terms of our human being, like here, okay? Because as I said, in some other beings, there is no five aggregates, you know, like formless God realms, there is no five aggregates. So it's not based on five aggregates. But like we human beings or animals, then on the basis of our aggregates coming together, collection or coming together, and on the basis of functioning of those aggregates in certain way, then on the basis of that, then merely imputed as a person, and so that is how it exists. So that, because before we establish the emptiness of person, we have to know what person is. So that is why it's trying to identify the persons. So because if we don't understand the persons, then when you do that kind of analysis, then the analysis might not be effective, because you haven't identified the object, the person itself well. Okay. So I think, yeah, so I think maybe today, I think I will we will stop here, unless there's any questions. Well, I think maybe, yeah, you can have the discussions, and then maybe if you have questions, or maybe next week we can, and okay. So we'll do the dedications. Due to the merit of this virtuous action, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all these living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Maybe we can do the long life prayer. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewels, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparable kindness of Yaso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. 조선고의 레모토도 아도저 다소도 예관도 샤프텐. We also dedicate all the virtues and merit that we and others have created 3 times for all the, the sickness due to the COVID, all the fears, all the physical pains, and made the pandemic to cease as quick as possible. And again, all the suffering that is going in Afghanistan, all the suffering that is going due to all the wildfires, due to all natural disasters and man-made, may all the sufferings that is in the world and others, may they all immediately be pacified, cease. And may all sentient beings find health, good health, inner peace, and joy, happiness. And may all sentient beings be able to achieve fully enlightenment. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.